In this episode of the Locked On NBA Big Board podcast, we have a special episode for you. Well, I think all of our episodes are special, but in this episode, James is releasing his Big Board 4.0. So stay tuned to find out if there are any surprises or is he going with the consensus. Big shout out to each and every person that has made the Locked On NBA Big Board podcast your first listen of the day. I'm your host, Rafael Barlowe, along with my co-host, who happens to be my brother, James. And like I said, in this episode, James is dropping off his Big Board 4.0. And James's Big Board is going to be split into two episodes. We're just going to cover his lottery. You know, James has a lot to say. It's going to be hard to cover 14 prospects in about 30 minutes. So this is part one of James's Big Board 4.0. But before we get started, I want to let you know that this episode is brought to you by Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K. You can turn any TV into an Xbox. No console is needed. So head to Amazon.com Fire TV, locked on to learn more. And if you are not subscribed to the YouTube channel, please subscribe, like, share, comment, click the bell so you can be notified every time we drop an episode, because we are coming at you at least 5 days a week. Sometimes you may get 2 episodes, and some days you may get 3. But this episode is all about James's Big Board 4.0 that released yesterday on Monday. So let's get started, all right? Number one, you got Cooper Flagg. Cooper Flagg is the consensus projected number one pick, 6'9", 205, freshman coming from Duke. Had just a phenomenal freshman year. 19 points, 7.5 rebounds, 4.2 assists, 1.4 blocks, 1.4 steals. But he shot 48% from the floor and 38.5% from three, 84% from the foul line. So Cooper Flagg is your number one. Tell me, what do you like about Cooper Flagg? And then also mention some concerns that you have. I mean, we're going to keep it real on this episode. Every prospect has some concerns. Even Wembanyama had some concerns. LeBron had some concerns. So we're going to talk about the strengths and the concerns. So let's start off with Cooper. What do you like about him? And what gives you a little bit of concerns about him maximizing his potential?
I love Cooper Flagg's intensity. I love his dog. I love what he brings to the game. You can run plays for him. He can score without plays being ran for him. I've had him number one this whole time. No secret about that. For the first time listeners, I've compared him to Kawhi Leonard, and I think he can have that kind of two-way impact on the game with his ability to make plays, make shots, defend at a high level, guard at a high level. Like, Cooper Flagg exceeded expectations this season. He was going to be number one likely, but he somehow was like better than what I thought. And you have to give him credit for an improved handle, improved jump shot, which that he made in the season. Like, he's legit. My concerns, and for him to be able to fulfill the Kawhi Leonard, aka White Claw prophecy, the handle is going to have to improve. Not necessarily like the strength in the handle, but the creativity in the handle. He does have the tendency to play bully ball at times, but I think at the next level in the NBA, he's going to have to be able to develop more creativity off the bounce, so that in those late game situations, he's not as predictable. But he's a phenomenal prospect. I think he's going to be an all-star. I think with a handle, which he showed to me flashes, just like glimpses of little things. The handle, he has superstar potential in the NBA.
Yeah, I mean, I think most people would agree that he has superstar potential. I just think he needs to be able to effectively get to his spots. He has the strength, at least on the college level, to be able to get to his sweet spots on the floor. But I get what you're saying about the creativity, especially early in the year. He looked like he was pretty predictable as far as he was driving, and then you knew that he was spinning, and teams were kind of sitting on it. He had a lot of turnovers where teams were just basically just waiting on him to spin. He cut that out as the year went on, but I do think that he needs to. I mean, I don't expect him to have a dancy handle, but just be able to get to his spots efficiently.
I think he could have a dancy handle. Like, there's just little stuff, man. Like little glimpses of like change of pace and like short spots that he has shown. He just has to take that to the next level. He takes that to the next level. He's really difficult to guard because like he gets low and he's got a launching pad, and dude is tough.
I know offline we talked about his shot, and you said you saw somewhere where his shot mechanics have changed over the
Yeah,
years.
man, his elbow was all poking out.
Yep.
This time last year, at McDonald's and Nike Hoop Summit, but they brought it in, and you can definitely see the like progression, even in the percentages. Like, it's hard to remember somebody who's gotten that much better, who is already very good, and like it's amazing to see what he's been able to do.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's talk about Dylan Harper. You got Dylan Harper, number 2, 6'6", 220-pound freshman guard from Rutgers. I know there's somebody that's going to join that's always commented on the YouTube, said he's not 6'6". Like, hey,
how tall do they think he is?
I'm just going to what we see. But he averaged 19.4 points, 4.6 rebounds, 4 assists per game, shot 48% from the floor, 33% from three, 75% from the foul line. So tell me, what do you like about Dylan Harper, and what are your concerns?
6'6", point guard, lead guard, whatever kind of guard you want to call him. Dylan Harper is a great athlete that you can't keep out of the paint, that's uber efficient at the paint. In the paint, I want to say he was at like 65% at the rim, which is crazy. Like, that's like some post player play finishing type numbers. And he's very good in pick and roll. He's got handles, good change of pace. Whether or not he's 6'5", I feel like he's every bit of 220. And he uses the 220 because he's strong. He's got very good core strength. Some people don't think he's a great athlete because he's not an above the rim guy all the time, but he's an at the rim guy. And his at the rim like takeoff point is dotted line, which means he's an athlete. Core strength, great finisher with both hands. He's a tough prospect. The biggest concern that I have about Dylan Harper is the jump shot, not because it's low, it's just the efficiency of the jump shot. He started off slow, then he had a stretch where he was making every jumper, and then I think he got hurt, he got sick, and then the jumper kind of was just up and down. So I feel like him being deadly off the dribble, on top of him being like hard to keep out the paint, will make him an all-star prospect to me. And also I think he'll be a better playmaker in the NBA because he'll have better players around him. No disrespect to the guys at Rutgers, but like there was no lob threat and there was one shooter on the court. That's not the NBA. So the jump shot efficiency and also the playmaking are my two concerns for Dylan Harper. But again, we're talking about an all-star prospect.
I can't wait to see him with NBA spacing.
Yes.
I like what you said about the athleticism, and not to bash VJ Edgecombe, but VJ is considered like, the best athlete in the class. And there are some people that think that Dylan Harper has some concerns about his athleticism. Dylan Harper shot 67% at the rim this year, 65% in the half court,
high volume,
62% on layups in the half court. And if you compare that to VJ Edgecombe, who's a phenomenal athlete, VJ shot 53.8% at the rim this year, only 44.5% on layups. And if you take away the dunks, just 44% on layups in the half court. So the athleticism thing sometimes it doesn't always translate to efficiency at the rim. The only concern I have with Harper is he has a low release on his shot, and I think that impacted his efficiency as a mid-range shooter. He only shot 28% on pull-up jump shots. But the shooting off the ball, I'm not concerned about that at all. He shot 36.8% on catch and shoot threes. And with his size and ability to shoot off the catch, you can play him at both guard spots. And I think that makes him even more valuable. All right, up next, we got to talk about the most polarizing player, maybe the most polarizing player in the draft. It is Ace Bailey, who James has at number 3. So when we return, we're going to hear James's thoughts on Ace Bailey. Have you ever checked your bank account and you wonder where did all the money go between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment? It's pretty easy to lose track. And that is where Monarch Money comes in. It can be your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. And Monarch Money isn't just your typical budgeting app. It is a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you stop just managing your money and you can start building wealth. And managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts. You can set goals. You can stay on the same page without the stress. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That is monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. All right, second segment. Let's talk about Ace Bailey. I had to move Ace to the second segment because we would have ran out of time. Not necessarily saying it's gonna. I was expecting, anything great or anything bad, but Ace is polarizing guy. 6'10", 200-pound wing, average 17.6 points, 7.2 rebounds, 1.3 assists. We'll talk about that, I'm sure. 1.3 blocks per game on 46, 34, 69 shooting splits. Tell me what you like about Ace, but let me know your concerns.
Ace is not polarizing to me because I feel like I see Ace for who he is. 6'10", very good shooter, tough shot maker, questionable shot selection, questionable playmaking ability. But again, he's 6'10" and he can shoot. 34% from three is not great, but I think he is a better shooter than that. And he's talented. He does show some signs of athleticism, I guess, in transition. And he does have the defensive tools to be a good defender. But he's a tough shot taker, tough shot maker. And I think people got caught up with T-Mac, KD comparisons based off of build and shot selection. But I never, I wasn't drinking that Kool-Aid. I think he's going to be like a Michael Porter Jr. type. And I like Michael Porter Jr. for what he is as a 6'10" guy who rebounds, who has the ability. Does he do it consistently? No, but he has the ability to defend at a high enough level, and he makes shots. So if you're getting that out of Ace Bailey, and I think if you're getting that at San Antonio, like you couldn't ask for a better, player for you to fit in what you're doing if you're drafting at like 3. Obviously, you take Flagg if you, somehow pull off the unthinkable. But I just feel like Ace Bailey is at 6'10" with his shooting ability. Like he's a very good prospect, and in the right situation, everything can work out well for him.
If you just look at the shooting numbers, I think he can be dynamic as an off-the-ball shooter. He shot 38% on catch and shoot threes. This is one of the craziest stats I've seen. He shot 44% on guarded catch and shoot threes. That's 44% with a hand in his face. But when he was left open, he shot 25% on what Synergy labeled as uncontested threes, and then 24% on threes off the dribble. But then he shot 63% at the rim, which is impressive. But then if you take away his dunks, he only shot 50% on layups.
That's the thing about, man, you about to turn this into an Ace Bailey segment for real. That's the thing about I hear people talking about how athletic he is, but like he doesn't generate like layups for himself consistently. Some of that is strength, some of that is just taking poor angles. But I feel like in the right situation, I don't necessarily think like the ability to comfortably put the ball on the ground at a high level is realistic for him. But in the right situation where he's not forced to like play, I guess what you call Ace Bailey ball, which what he did again, high school is high school. But and at times Rutgers, especially when Dylan Harper is out, in the right situation, I think he is a high level starter who could probably average 20 as your third best player because he's going to space the floor. He's good in transition, and he's 6'10".
Yeah, I think fit is going to be very, very important for him. You can say the same thing about every prospect, but I think for him, it's going to be all about fit and the right organization. If somehow the Thunder, I don't think they can. I think the pick stays with Philly if it's within the top 6. If somehow he like miraculously falls and he ends up going like number 7, and then the Thunder have that pick, I think that would be like a really good fit.
Ask for a better situation, unless it's San Antonio.
Yeah, it's like that would be good for. It could be good or bad. He could end up in a situation where he's not playing, or he could end up with like the structure, and then he ends up maximizing his potential. And then we say again, like, how does Sam Presti end up with this guy? So I like Ace a lot. I heard a comparison, And
What you hear, Rob?
I heard a comparison from a scout this actually yesterday, and I can't unsee it now. And he said he just wasn't high on Ace, and he was like, "This is Cam Reddish all over again."
Nah, he shoots better than Cam Reddish.
Yeah, Cam definitely.
Cam Reddish was like the master of none,
yeah,
kind of good at a bunch of stuff. Where if Ace was like, if you just got through the Ace and you didn't run any plays for him and just said attack a closeout, shoot open 3-pointer, he's averaging 15 a game in the league.
Yeah. I think at the minimum he could be what you call a corner boy, but I do think that he's probably is going to have to change his style of play a little bit. All right, let's move on to Jeremiah Fears. Let's give James his props, man. He had Jeremiah Fears.
Not yet, man. Wait till draft night, Rob.
As a top 5. I'm giving you your prop now. He had Jeremiah Fears as a top 5 pick back in December. Yes, we know it is still April. The draft hasn't happened yet, but you're starting to see people mock him in that range when, people thought you were nuts. People thought you were nuts a few months back. Hey, I will say this much, though. People will disagree with you until ESPN comes out with a mock. And then if it's in that range, then it's like, well, if ESPN said it, it must be right. But you were far ahead of ESPN in ranking Jeremiah Fears. Even like Tankathon has him at like number 8. But Jeremiah Fears, phenomenal freshman year. Probably the biggest surprise, or one of the biggest, depending on who you ask. Averaged 17 points a game, 4.1 assists, 4.1 rebounds on 43, 28, 85 shooting splits. He's listed at 6'4". That is one of the questions that I've consistently heard. Is he really 6'4"? But I think he might be at least 6'3", by 6'4" shoes. What are your thoughts on Jeremiah Fears? Why do you like him, I would say, so much? Because you were high on him early. And then what are your concerns?
What I like about Jeremiah Fears, if he is, I think he's going to be at least 6'3". So, talking about 6'3", lightning quick, handles, creativity. They call him a walking paint touch. He is literally, you can't keep him out the paint. He, in big games, he comes through. Like, on his resume, he beat an Arizona team. He beat Mississippi State. They won games when they needed to win because of him. I think he's a good playmaker, but he does turn the ball over a lot. But at the same time, he's 18. He's not even supposed to be here right now. He's supposed to be, with the graphics with 5 different schools in the background trying to pick where he's going to go to school. But he's an 18-year-old, and he's preparing for the NBA draft. My concerns are that it's not a talent level thing for him. As good as he is, as athletic as he is, he should be a better paint finisher. And also, the jumper looks good. The free throw percentages look good. He shot like 6 a game, and he made like 80-something%. He should be a better shooter. But again, at the same time, his situation, in my opinion, was he had to create all of the offense. So maybe in a different situation, he's a better shooter. But his 2 biggest concerns, really 3, will be turnovers, jump shot efficiency, layup efficiency. If he fixes those things, I think in the NBA in a few years, he has franchise level point guard ability. But again, some things need to go right for him. But I think he has the talent and the tools to do so.
All right, let's talk about VJ Edgecombe. You have VJ at number 5 on your big board 4.0. VJ Edgecombe is a freshman from Baylor. Had up and down year, averaged 15 points per game, 5.6 rebounds, 3.2 assists per game on 43, 34, 78 shooting splits. Why do you have VJ inside your top 5? And what are the areas for improvement for him?
So I have VJ at 5 because I think VJ, I don't want to call him a safe pick, but I do like, obviously, his athleticism. His athleticism at the guard spot, as far as just running and jumping, is probably second to none in this draft. I want to say second to none in this draft. He does show the ability to make shots. I do think the 3-point percentages are going to be good. I think combined with what you saw from him in the Olympic qualifiers for the Bahamas, you saw some bad stuff at Baylor, but you saw him you did see him turn it around. I think VJ Edgecombe is the ultimate third piece, best case scenario, second option. I think he is somebody you pair with the guy to complement your guy. So if I'm like Charlotte, right, and I have a need on the wing still, even with Brandon Miller, I say, you know what, VJ's he can be a low usage but still effective guy. I do think he has the ability, the athleticism, the tools to be a good defender. Even though he is only 6'3", he's so athletic it may not even matter. But I think he's going to be like the ultimate Robin in a sense, or third option Robin if you want to go to a two-man front. So concerns, because I do think he is a complementary piece. I do have concerns about his handle and just really his ability to like create plays for himself. We talked about it in a different podcast. If you're watching us online, you can search VJ Edgecombe, how we talked about what he should work on in the offseason. I do think that VJ Edgecombe is good off the dribble, straight line, clear path. He can get to the basket. Now, he does need to finish better when he does get there, so that is a concern. But he has no counters. There's no extra stuff to me that gives him the ability, at least from what I've seen, that gives him the ability that makes me think that he could be more than just like a really, really good complementary piece.
I was at EYBL this past weekend in Phoenix. There was a lot of NBA scouts in attendance, and I was talking to a scout, and we were talking about VJ. He had VJ as number 3 on his board, and I was just picking his brain, mentioning the concerns about the finishing. He was like, "Not worried. We'll work on that. Not worried about that at all." All right, up next, we're going to finish this episode. This is part 1 of James's Big Board 4.0. We're going to finish with Tre Johnson and Derik Queen. James is going to explain why he has them in the top half of his lottery for the 2025 NBA draft. Spring is here, and that means it is home project season. Whether you are refreshing a room or tackling a full renovation, Wayfair is the best kept secret for all things when it comes to home improvement. So whether it is a small update like a stylish cabinet or major upgrades and vanities to sinks and outdoor lighting, Wayfair has the quality products for every budget. You can upgrade your kitchen. With Wayfair, they have free and fast shipping that makes it very easy. There's no need to haul the heavy items from the store. They have some of the top brands like GE and Moen at good prices. And shopping is very, very easy. You can find exactly what you need to fit any space and any style. And Wayfair makes home improvement simple and easy. So get started now at wayfair.com. That is WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style for every home. All right, last segment, Tre Johnson. You're a big Tre Johnson fan. You got Tre at number 6. Tre is a 6'6", 185-pound wing. That's what they have him listed at. We'll find out the latest measurements in maybe about 2 weeks. About 2 weeks at the NBA Combine. But Tre averaged 19.9 points per game, 42.7% from the floor, 39% from 3 on a heavy volume of threes. He also shot 87% from the foul line, averaged 3 rebounds, 2.7 assists. Tre is a guy that people love to bring up. Oh, I think he's like going to be Cam Thomas. Cam Thomas is, I think it was like 24, 25 point per game score. I don't think that's a fair comparison. Tre can get buckets. I mean, I don't know how many guys can average, rounded up to 20 points per game and shoot 40% from 3 on a high volume of attempts, and people have concerns. Let me say this. There are people that really aren't high on him and his style of play, but I think you can really, really make a case other than, the 4 or 5 inch height difference. Tre Johnson was better than Ace Bailey.
I've made that case before.
Yeah, we talked about it on this podcast. But why do you have Tre at number 6? What do you like, and what are some of the concerns?
So I have Tre at 6, and I will say this: 5 and 6 are interchangeable. Really, 5, 6, 7. Like, I feel like at that point in the draft this year, really you could say 4. I mean, I'm not in charge, so Obviously, things could look different. But let's just say 4 through 8. It could be like, okay, what do I need? Or it's going to come down to a preference thing. I don't necessarily think there is a clear cut, number 4, or really even number 3, depending on, who you ask. So it depends on how it goes. With that said, I like Tre Johnson's shot making ability and phenomenal shooter. And like I've mentioned in a previous podcast, he's a scary guy because in a sense that he can go 0 for 8, but he might catch fire. And he kept Texas in a lot of games. Took him a while to figure it out. And even as a 19-year-old freshman, like, they deferred to him. I do think he's a good passer. I don't think the assist numbers necessarily reflect how good of a passer he is. But again, some of that was just kind of like stylistically. It was just go get the ball, Tre, and go be great. I would like to see him in more pick and roll action at the next level. And I think that will unlock better playmaking and really unlock what I would call my biggest concern for him is just like his ability to finish in the paint and also just generate paint touches. While he is a phenomenal shooter, it's a lot of tough shots, a lot of tough threes. And, it's the NBA. It's hard to create a long career on tough jump shots. Now, guys do it, but, it's hard to do. So I would like to see Tre Johnson get to the rim more. He did have a stretch in the season where he was getting to the foul line a lot more, but will he be able to figure out the foul line and paint touches? And I think he is an at the rim athlete, and that kind of like at the rim athlete in isolation doesn't really fare too well, at least in my opinion. So that's why I feel like he needs to just become really a really good pick and roll threat, and that's how I think he'll be able to unlock his ability. But he's got tons of talent. I told you, Raf, this time in, what was that, I told you a long time ago he was an NBA player before he even had hair under his arm. So that dude is cold.
Yeah, you told me he was an NBA player when he was, I think, 15-year-old sophomore.
Yeah.
Well, let's move on to Derik Queen. You're a big Derik Queen fan. I think this is probably the highest that I've seen him. You have him at number 7. Queen is a 6'10", 245-pound, 4'5", big, whatever he is.
Hooper.
Ball player. Freshman from Maryland, averaged 16.5 points, 9 rebounds, 1.9 assists, 2.2 stocks per game by shooting 50% from the floor, 20% from 3, and 76% from the foul line. We did a whole episode of, asking why can't he be Alperen Sengun. So if you missed that episode, go check it out. But for those that missed the episode, they didn't catch it, tell us why you like Derik Queen, but also share, some of the areas of improvement and some of the concerns you may have.
So, I mean, to summarize that episode up in a few minutes, I think, and especially if you're watching the Houston Rockets, who are competing, a young team, and they're led by Alperen Sengun, who's not a rim protector. Also want to say on the telecast, they said that he was top 5 in defensive rating, and Alperen Sengun is not a rim protector. Queen doesn't project to be your typical rim protector, but he did block over a shot a game. I do think he has defensive concerns, but I also think that his defensive concerns are a bit overblown because he's not your stereotypical rim protector. I do think he has the ability to move his feet on the perimeter. What I love about his game is that he is a matchup problem because a smaller guy, he's going to bang and post up. A bigger guy, he can face up. He has guard skills. I'm not talking about, the fake guard skills where they tell you a dude was a 6'3" point guard and had a growth spurt and now he can, walk and chew gum at the same time. Like, no, he's got legit guard skills. Like, I've seen him beat guards off the dribble with a straight line drive, with a rip through. I think he's going to be really good on offense. I think that his offense and his talent and his ability to pass, create for himself, should be too much to overlook it should outweigh what you may feel like he has defensive concerns. Because at the same time, like, just the Sengun comparison, the Rockets are a scrappy defensive team. 1 through 5. They switch 2 through 5. 1 through 5, those guys defend. I feel like in today's NBA, If you're going to copy people, copy Boston, obviously. Copy Houston, because they play guys who don't just play one style of defense, right? And then Ime does a good job of moving Şengün around so he can't get picked on too much. But he's showing in pick and rolls. I feel like Şengün I feel like Derik Queen has that same level of ability where he can defend at a high enough level to where you don't play him off the floor. And then obviously he's really good on offense.
Yeah, I like Derik Queen. I kind of struggled with him earlier in the year. I mean, I've always loved the talent. I just didn't know the range. I didn't know
He was tripping, dog.
how it all translates. I mean, I think for him, fit is going to be important too. Fit and coach. And I've mentioned it in previous episodes. There was the guy that told me, he's like, man, our front office is going to like him. But when we start showing the coach the film after the season, he's going to be like, man, this guy is jogging back on defense. This guy has his mouthpiece hanging out of his mouth. He doesn't look like he's playing hard. And they were like, it's going to be hard to convince our coach that this is.
Coach him up, coach.
Like.
Coach him up.
Well, that wraps up this episode of the Locked On NBA Big Board podcast. Stay tuned because we just did the first half of James's lottery in his Big Board 4.0. So check James out on Twitter. You can see the whole full first round. Stay tuned for the next episode. We are going to cover the second half of James's Big Board 4.0 lottery. Make sure you click that subscribe button, like, share, comment, and click the bell so you can be notified every time we drop an episode. And we are out of here.